Yeah, I'm just working on a little project here today. It's not a job that's all that big. It's a pain in the ass, but I've done this enough times. It's almost second nature, but that's the problem running these tracks on the skid steer and going through mud as deep as I'm going there. I mean, them seals just ain't made to take the mud. And you get in this heavy clay, sticky mud. And it's soupy, it's no problem. This real sticky stuff puts so much more stress on the axles when you're turning and everything. That the bearings just, well, it's mainly the mud gets in the bearings and takes the bearings out. And like I say, I have, this is the one I just took out. And you can hear it in there just clacking. Trying to do this one-handed, but you can hear it rattling. It's all, that outer bearing is gone. I mean, that's why I got a spare axle, so I can rebuild one. That one turns so much easier and doesn't have all that clacking noise to it. So, it ain't that big a deal. Just pull them bolts out, slide the axle in, slide the new one in. Then you got to make sure, like on this John Deere, this has this extra bump up here. The bottom side doesn't have it. This actually says up on it, so that goes on top. But yeah, like I say, it just matters sliding it in, sliding it out, and then just put enough. And to rebuild these is just like wheel bearings in a tire. You gotta take this snap ring off, and then the spacer ring, and you just whack that with a hammer, or if you got a press it out. But I just take a sledgehammer, pops that bearing out, put new races, bearings, tap it all back together, put that clip back in, make sure this O-ring's on here. I usually fill that groove with grease and then work that in there, and it holds it in place. And then it's just a matter, you put it on and you tighten up the bolts till they're just snug. Then you gotta tap this side here with the hammer, drive it forward. You want just enough pressure that holds it, but enough that it can slide. And then, like I said, with the wheel on there, you're supposed to have like a 1/4 inch of play. So you just basically tap that up until it's tight, and then you snug the living hell out of them. Biggest problem I got when, like I say, doing it this way, and then I got to put, so there's 8 bolts for that, and then you got to put the wheel spacer back on. There's 8 bolts for that. Then you put the tire back on. There's 8 bolts for that. And then I'll have to bring it back over here, drive it back on the tracks, tighten them up, and put the 2 bolts in for that. And that's the hardest part, getting that back together. This here's all gravy. I'm just hoping this bearing's not out. I got to jack it up yet and check that while I'm at it. But yeah, it's a fairly easy job. I mean, I just did one on the other side about 2 weeks ago. Now, this will probably be good for all summer. Usually it'll dry up here and it won't be in all this mud, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I got a lot of manure to load yet and stuff, and that's going to be hard on it. But you can do what you got to do. So that's why I keep that extra axle. I mean, it's $1,000 for a new axle and hub. And then, like I say, when I get a free chance, I rebuild it and just slap them back together. So one thing I'm surprised, the bearings are actually cheaper from John Deere than they are from the local bearing house. So yeah, I'd rather be working on a disc today, but got to get this. I mean, that was growling to beat hell. I mean, the bearing's been gone for 4 or 5 days, and it just squawks and squeals. And that's what's the nice thing about the skid steer too. You got a built-in jack. You can just lift it up. But I got add a little more oil into that, and then There's like a piece of plastic wrapped up here. I gotta try to fish out of there yet. That's gonna be no fun, but yeah, I say it rained yesterday, so it can't get in the fields anyhow. So play around and get this done. So I just thought I'd share a little bit on the inside on this. And they say when the first one I ever did on my other skid steer, when it cost me $200 to have somebody else rebuild it, you learn how to rebuild them fast. Looks like I say my New Holland skid steer did not like these tracks. This John Deere handles them better, but not much. So thanks for watching, and I can get this back together so I can mix feed tonight. Catch you later.